Hey everyone, this is Ram. I'm one of the core contributors at OpenLedger. OpenLedger is a blockchain for AI. If you take a look at it, right, AI has three major components in its development. One is compute, another one is data, the third is model. We work on the data and model side. For every AI model, one of the crucial components over here is to enable more and more people to contribute relevant data sets, right? Data contributors in larger language models like OpenAI or Llama do not get rewarded as part of the process. We want to change that. Any AI model that's being built on top of OpenLedger, if the data contributors contribute data sets, we want to make sure the data is tracked on chain. We want to make sure the impact that these data contributors make on the model is tracked on chain and the reward is compensated very fairly. We are purpose built for AI. We've been building over the last 2 years. We've been backed by prominent investors like Polychain Capital and many more as well. And we have more than 10 plus projects building on us. We work with larger enterprises as well. And we are here in the ecosystem to enable more and more AI development to happen at scale. We provide an end to end solution for data contribution, AI model development, and compensation as well. Yeah, so if you take a look at OpenAI, right, the parent company of ChatGPT, they made close to about $1 billion last year. And none of these get goes to the data contributors, right? And one of the biggest reasons is because they go ahead and get data by scraping the internet. And this is the data that you and me provide on the internet, on social media. But none of us get compensated for it because they go ahead and freely scrape the internet, right? But this is changing because models need to be much more smarter. Model needs to be much more specialized, and we need to build models that are unique to a particular category. ChatGPT or any other applications out there uses base models like OpenAI, right? And there are open source models like Llama, but these have very generic knowledge. We can't use them as it is. So these models have to be built for its own purpose. It has to be customized for every application that we see out there. So let's say someone is building a model for healthcare. You need to collect data sets that can enable this model to be much more useful and can have knowledge about healthcare, right? So we would want individuals or smaller enterprise to contribute data sets for this. But none of them will come forward and contribute data if not getting rewarded as part of the process. That's what we like to do in OpenLedger. We want to make sure that anyone who's contributing data sets to the specialized models that are being built on OpenLedger are rewarded fairly as part of the process. So yeah, so as we discussed before, your purpose built for AI. So the important component here is how we track data, right? So we want to make sure that every time someone contributes data sets to a model that is being developed on OpenLedger, we start tracking from the data ownership. So if a user contributes data, we tag that user's data to their wallet, and we show the ownership of this particular user that he owns this data. From that time to the time that this model gets used of this data as it goes through the training process, we track that on chain as well. We know which data is being used in which particular model. And as these model gets developed, as these model gets trained with the data sets, if they are being used by agents or any end user on the inference, on the output that these model gives, we also figure out how much of the data set that is contributed for this model is creating an impact on that output. Based on the impact that is there, we would enable the model developers to use OpenLedger, to use our blockchain to reward the data contributors as part of the process. We want to make sure that there is fair compensation. If there is success, everyone who's behind that has to be rewarded. So we want to enable a place where all of this happens in a much more seamless way. Data contributors can own the data contributed. Model developers can get access to all the data that is available on OpenLedger, build models with that. They don't have to pay anything upfront. And as they use this data, as these models gets built, if these models make revenue, if they are useful, we want to make sure that the contributors that enable these models to happen, the data contributors get rewarded as part of that. And also the model developers get paid as well, and they get compensated for the model that they built. And our Open Ledger is a blockchain that enables all of them to come together. We provide a trust platform. We orchestrate for all of this to happen. Yeah, so general blockchains are not purpose built for AI, right? If you take a look at general blockchains, they predominantly track the transactions that is being executed. It tracks the user wallet address that is associated with that. But for AI, the biggest component here, as we spoke a lot about, is data, right? You need to know who is contributing this data. You need to know what is the impact this data is making on a model training process. You also need to know how much of the data that is being contributed needs to be compensated as well as these model throws an output. So all of that has to be on chain, and a blockchain has to be customized for that. You can't use a regular blockchain as it is. So that is one of the reasons we built our own layer 2, purpose built for this. We wanted to make sure that all the contract layer enables any model developer to start a contract and accordingly collect data sets, track them, and then reward based on how the impact is. So our layer 2 is purpose built for that. And that's why we had to build this and not use any other general purpose blockchains out there. Yeah, of course. Myself and my team, we've been in the space from 2017, building in technology. So we started a blockchain and ML R&D company back in 2017. At a peak, we were about 200 plus employees. We did close to about $40 million plus revenue. And we had an opportunity to work with a lot of enterprises that wanted to get into the Web3 space and that were exploring the space as well. We worked with Walmart, we worked with Sony, Viacom, and many more brands. We also had an opportunity to work with Web3 enterprises like Aptos, Hedera Foundation, and many more other blockchains out there. So we come from a background of working with a lot of enterprises. So, and also we worked on the intersection between blockchain and ML. Today, that's crypto AI, right? So that gave us the strength to build OpenLedger. That gave us the knowledge and the experience as well. We've been working with enterprises very long time. That relationship also helps us work with enterprises today with for OpenLedger implementations as well. Yeah, so we work with companies today, as I mentioned before. We work with Walmart. We have a long relationship with them that helps us really well. We're building an AI model for them. This is basically a specialized model that will enable product cost and allocations much better than existing ML systems out there. We're basically using a Llama model and then fine tune with their internal data sets, basically customer data sets. Again, it's very highly proprietary and sensitive data, right? So they work with us very closely on this. And one of the reasons why an organization, Walmart, works with us is because of the explainability of these models, right? As part of what I told before, we want to make sure that every component of a model, AI model development, is tracked on chain. One of the crucial components in a model's output is always, as I told before, is the data that goes into that. We attribute and figure out which data is causing a model to give a particular output, and we explain the model much better. This auditability of showing which data goes into which particular model and how it is impacting its output is very much needed for an enterprise like Walmart, because they want to make sure that every decision that they make using a model is trackable. Very similarly, we work with other, enterprises as well. We work with Dubai government. We're building a model for them, especially on like tax data sets. We are working with a lot of Web3 enterprises like Trust Wallet. We work with Kaito and a couple of more Web3 enterprises as well. We will be starting our AI model development for Sony as well. We are building a model for them. So it's quite exciting to work with all of these enterprises. All of them have different challenges, and we're able to glad to provide OpenLedger as a product for them. I think it's more of a generational mindset. The previous generation, we all did not worry much about data privacy, right, or ownership because we cared more about convenience. I think the current generation is a bit different. They want privacy and ownership to be much more than convenience. And we've started to see that change happen already. with the discussions that's happening with how the models are being trained and the lawsuits that we see today. I think it's becoming much more bigger, right? The conversations that you and me have on the internet is what being currently trained on any AI model. The blogs that we write, the news that comes out, all of that is trained on AI model. We don't get compensated for that. But we need to make sure that at least the models that get built forward, right? The models that are being built forward, which are much more personal, which are much more personalized and special, like healthcare model or a finance model, which basically use our data set, we have to get compensated for that. And we want to make sure that OpenLedger is a platform that starts with that. We want to encourage users to contribute data, but get rewarded for that as well. If you take a look at YouTube, when it initially started, anyone who contributed content did not get paid for it. So there was not very good content, right? But once they started monetizing, you had better content that came forward. YouTubers became a thing. Enterprises started contributing content because they know they will get paid for it. Very similarly, we want to make sure that in a data contribution that enables AI to happen, any data contributor has to be compensated. Only then you have better data that will be coming in. We also want enterprise to come forward and contribute as well. They have a lot of proprietary data. So as part of that, you need to monetize them, right? You need to fairly compensate them. They need to see how their data is being used. They need to have ownership of that. They need to see the impact. They also need to see that they're getting paid for the impact that they make. That is what we want to do. So that's why everyone has to care about this. If you have data, if it's useful, you gotta get paid for it. So I think a success of any platform is to see how the community runs the platform on its own. On a longer run, we want to make sure that all incentives are aligned for anyone who's using OpenLedger. The network has to run on its own. It has to be run by the community. We want to make sure that it is as decentralized as possible. Today, we have about 1,000 plus models being deployed on Hugging Face every day, right? I would like to see a day where there is more models deployed on OpenLedger and there are more people getting rewarded for that. I think that's success where you're able to build a trustless platform that is able to coordinate people to come together and build useful system and get rewarded for that. That's the best way to prove decentralization, and we want to be a platform that can enable that to happen. That is why that we build this in a way that all of this happens very seamlessly. People can collect data on us, process the data, enable model to be built using these data sets. Data contributors know that, as we discussed about, they know that they own the data, they know that where the data is going when the model is being built. And as this model gets built and deployed, as this model makes revenue, we want to make sure that the stakeholders involved in this process, the data contributors and the model developers, get rewarded. We want to make sure the system happens without any stop. It happens and runs by the community, and it's monitored by the community. And all of the incentives are aligned among all these stakeholders. I think that's the long run, the future that we would like to see, a future where the community runs this, and we have more models being deployed on OpenLedger than any centralized platforms. And we make sure that anyone who's contributing here own a piece of that and get rewarded as part of that as well. Yes, OpenLedger roadmap looks very strong. So we've been building over the last 2 years. We're currently in testnet. We have more than 1 million plus nodes contributing data sets in our testnet right now. We have 10 plus projects building in our community. This includes an ex-Google DeepMind person who's building on us and many more projects. There's a team which is building a solidity model. We have a team which is building a healthcare model and many more as well. On the enterprise side, as you know, we work with a lot of enterprises in the traditional world and also in the Web3 space as well. As part of that, we would like to expand our business. We would like to work with more enterprises. We currently make close to about $14 million plus revenue. We want to expand that. We want to grow much more bigger. And we will also go mainnet with the product as we are finishing our testnet. So that'll happen in about 2 months' time. And as we go mainnet, we would like to have the community to start building on us in a permissionless manner. So we like to see more and more projects building on OpenLedger and then using our product to build great AI models and reward anyone who's being part of the process. That's what we would love to see, and we've been having great support from the community. especially the Korean community as well. And we would like to have more and more support from you guys, and we'd like to have more developers start to build on as well. Thank you for the opportunity. It was nice talking to you guys. I'm very glad that I was able to talk to you today.